Hey y'all, Kevin Noe here from Fight Designer LLC, coming back on the YouTube channel again. We broke 1,000 subscribers, so yay, cool, I guess. I mean, I'm not getting paid for any of this, and it hasn't led to a whole lot of work, a little bit of consulting stuff, but honestly, most of my work still comes through word of mouth with live connections, real world connections, not necessarily the virtual YouTube thing. I'm still kind of hoping that one of these days this will do me some good, but in the meantime, you know, I just like to share. So what I want to look at today is another series of experimentations with these smoke and flash suppressors that to me, were one of the coolest things to come out in the last year or so in terms of prop gun effects. So much potential for especially indie film. But at the moment, it's got to be in a suppressor because we need that extra space. There's nothing yet that's built into a realistic looking prop gun. I showed some of these plastic toy guns that are kind of doing the same thing. To some degree, just with water mist, and I would love to see some of that integrated into a more realistic prop gun at some point, but, you know, beggars can't be choosers. The market does what the market thinks it can make money off of, and especially with tariffs and things, we might be seeing less imports coming in of any sort, so who knows, right? But let's take a look at what we're trying out here. All right, so a little test here with one of these smoking tracers. Now, what I'm trying to do here, obviously with these, as I've seen in my previous videos, what I'm trying to do is create the simulated muzzle flash effect. So what I really want is a mix of both the smoke and the flash, and I want it to happen every time I pull the trigger. I don't want it to happen ideally when I just wiggle it around. The challenge is that these are set off by a motion detector inside the barrel that is originally designed to trigger when a BB flies through it. And obviously for props use, we don't want BBs to be flying through it. So what I've been experimenting with a little bit here is different materials to trigger that motion detector. So on my first round of experiments, which are in previous videos, I was using like Mylar streamers from like party banners and things like that. You see them in the like fringed party trim at proms and things like that. I got them, I think, from a Pride Parade is where I first grabbed some of those kind of ribbons. But this time what I tried was just using a bit of the bag that some of these come in. And this has got the advantage in that it's a little bit less transparent, so maybe it'll show up a little bit less. So it's got a white side and a dark side, much like the Force. And I'm not sure which is going to trigger it better or any of that. It does seem like if it's too long, it doesn't want to move as quickly. One of the issues I had with the ones from AK-47 gel blasters apparently was that the motion wasn't fast enough. So dropping a BB would work, but the ribbon twitching wasn't doing enough. So trying different materials. They also said it might be too transparent. So yeah, trying more opaque materials, trying different weights of materials, trying different lengths, different thicknesses. That seems to be like the next round of experimentation, is to see what will give us the most reliable flash effect. So on this round of experiments, it seemed to work a little bit better when I trimmed it down and trimmed it more narrow, but it's still only getting 80%, which is not bad, but it's a little annoying. Honestly, if we were shooting old like 24 FPS film and blanks, we might only catch 80% of them anyway, in terms of some of them happening in between the shutter being open and closed, and so we might miss some of those there. So it's not not an unheard of success rate, but it's not too bad. Trying this on a WE Galaxy, I think it's kind of a fun choice because in reality, most of these would actually shoot 22, and 22 subsonic is a pretty common round to use suppressed, and there are some tactical teams that would use like a suppressed 22 for things like if there were a watchdog that they needed to take out or something like that, or taking out lights, whatever, because it can be super quiet if it's just a 22 subsonic with a decent can on the end. Although this is on a 1911 frame, so, you know, 45 is another one that could be decent subsonic because it's a slower round than 9mm to begin with, but it would have more mass, so that could also kind of work. So I like that idea. And also the fact that the slide doesn't reciprocate means it works better with a suppressor. That it's just this part that reciprocates with each shot means that there's less things to get hung up here up front. Some of them, if the slide gets pushed back at all by the suppressor being in there, if it can't return all the way, or if there's issues with the barrel tilt on a real semi-auto when it fires, the barrel kind of cants up a little bit. And that becomes a bit of an issue when you've got this extra weight on the front and extra stuff right up against the muzzle. Sometimes you need a spacer there, real suppressor. Sometimes you need a little spring-loaded device thing there to stop it from jamming every shot. We saw with the Luigi Mangione shooting the CEO that he had to cycle it after every shot. He did not have one of the nicer suppressors. So, these things happen in real life as well. But this would be a decent choice if you wanted an assassin pistol or something with the suppressor. So I thought it'd be a good way to test that out. So work in progress. We're still not exactly there. We still get some accidental flashes just waving it around when it's turned on, and a few missed flashes on about 20% of the trigger pulls. But experimentation continues, and the beauty of indie film is if it's not $1 million riding on it every minute, then we can do a couple takes. Hopefully it's just an insert shot and there's not a whole bunch of other stuff going on in the background that we got to worry about. Just to get that one shot. Decently confident we could get that shot with just a couple of takes. Is the hope. So, till next time, if you have any No Way Fight Designer LLC, stay safe, stay sane, stay healthy, and I'll talk to you later.